Hello and welcome to the Vibe Space. What's this? Who keeps killing all these games? So the first event that we're going to discuss involves the MMO Ashes of Creation. This is a game that was still in its developmental stage, and as I understand it still is currently, but Pirate Software was given access to the beta to beta test and report bugs, as well as several other very helpful responsibilities. I would like you to keep in mind that the group that he's playing with held a very similar mentality and playstyle and overall attitude to Pirate Software. The reparations for this misunderstanding and this absolute goof performed by Pirate Software were actually very easy to go through, and he repaired things with this group very well. Everyone forgave each other, understood, and went on about their business, because at the end of the day, it's just a video game. But I just wanted to mention some of those talking points before getting into this. All right.
Sabu is not.
This is Thor's ability.
Sabu. God damn it, guys.
Wait for it.
Sabu got left behind. Sabu is not paying attention.
I would like to mention here that Thor is being so nervous about being a team leader that he is worrying about Sabu, about other placements, about other ability castings, and he is blatantly missing what you're going to see here.
You can see something's being hit over there. You can see something there in the background is getting ticks on it from damage. What is the only spell hitting over there? This ball of lightning. Oh, wait. Who cast the ball of lightning? It can't be.
At the time.
It was actually Thor who cast the ball of lightning. Wait. So the person he's been attacking this whole time, the idiot who cost him 4 hours, the person who needs to get kicked, the person who can't follow basic instructions, if this person does it again, I'm dismantling the group. Wait, it was him?
Yeah, the bill kind of paid itself there, didn't it?
He did it? I mean, look, okay, so he made a mistake. All right, you know what? Caught red-handed, I made a mistake. It is what it is. Say, okay, you guys are right. I guess he has to change his tone now and say, okay, my bad, guys. It actually was me. I'll be careful more next time. I'm not going to cast Ball of Lightning into this area because, yeah, something might spawn there. That's what happened, right? Surely he now says, yeah, oh, it was me, I guess. I guess I was in the wrong.
No, sadly, that is not how Thor immediately responds to this heightened, stressful situation. But I like to argue at this moment that this is a potential piece of evidence for unintentional autistic hyperfocus and a peripheral blindness as a result. Let's dive into this a little bit more.
The lightning ball pulled. I cast lightning ball before that Oculus appeared, and half the raid was in the back because they pulled the wrong pack. I'm not at fault there.
Wait.
Of course, that does not feel good. In our minds, watching the situation, it seems like somebody would much rather lie their way out of a mistake than to take ownership for it. Thor is being observed by thousands of people. He's communicating with other individuals who have audience bases of equal size, if not larger. And he's doing his best to be as hypercritical as possible within a video game that is oftentimes not treated like a video game, but instead treated like a professional sport or a full-time job. I would like to also mention that just like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft and other MMOs have always had audience bases that very deeply disrespect, prank, pwn, and mess with each other. And in this situation, that's not even what Thor is doing. Thor is sticking to his known playstyle, his known lack of personality for the sake of being critical. And I think It's very blatant that's what bit him here, especially as we continue to divulge his case. Quick volume warning.
In mind, it's a game that is a social sandbox, and if you've never played one of those, they're usually built on player conflict. There's a lot of propaganda that's put out, there's a lot of shit talking between players and things like that, very similar to EVE Online or Albion or Foxhole. If you've ever played Foxhole before, you know that the wardens eat babies as an example of propaganda, right? Very simple stuff. Collies definitely don't, though. So with that in mind, this server is rife with this kind of behavior. It's very normal. And there's a lot of tension on the line because we're constantly combating each other and trying to get the upper hand through different resources. In one of those groups that I was in, inside of my own guild, I accidentally pulled something with a spell called Ball Lightning. And you can see it kind of off in the back there. I thought somebody else in the group pulled this, and I was really pissed off, and I blamed the rest of the team. And the reason why I had done that is because earlier on in the fights, people just kept pulling random shit. And then I accidentally pulled random shit, and I looked like a dumbass because I was an angry dumbass. This was entirely my fault. And later on, when we reviewed the footage, we realized it was entirely my fault, and then I apologized to everyone involved. Later on, we ended the raid, and we moved on to other content. All of these people are still in the guild, and we still run with each other all the time. So I know people on the internet get really agitated about stuff clipped out of context, but here I was mad, and then we worked it out. Outside of that, the weird narratives that I've somehow been kicked from the server are completely false. As you've seen on my earlier part of this video, I'm on a flying mount. Flying mounts are only available for mayors after getting reelected by people where they have to vote on me.
Thor's not saying that to be egotistical or to flex how cool he is or that he has a flying mount. He's saying that because he's trying to give some credence to the fact that he was voted for a reason of knowledge or leadership ability. He comes from a cybersecurity environment and furthermore, a toxic gaming environment at Blizzard, which he regularly detests and finds ways to flip the script when it comes to toxic environments altogether and create healthy environments. Catching someone's toxic moments and mistakes and passing them and telephoning them, especially as titans of social media platform. I'm not going to divulge into that too far, but I do have to mention these points because when you just graze over all of this, it is very easy to create a random argument and run with it. But the truth takes a little bit more time, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more patience, awareness, dare I say, project scope.
We're also the dominant force on the server. We fight with everyone all of the time, as we should in any PvP-focused game, and we give a lot of reports and reviews and bug reports to the developers all the time. We also run internal information and have a thriving community of about 22,000 people on the Discord specifically for this game. So, not going anywhere. I haven't been kicked out, and this wasn't that big of a deal, even though I was a jack.
Now we have to quickly dive into a little bit older conflict within a much wider known MMO, World of Warcraft. This is a bit of a doozy. From the clearest perception of the situation that I can tell, Thor disengaged at a very misopportune time and was accused completely of absolutely running from the situation intentionally. He was accused of being the potential hero of the entire situation. They were setting him up as if he were trolling, and it really just does not feel that way. In his play of MMOs, he's known to reset, disengage aggro, and re-engage. He's also known to communicate the fact that he's doing that. Was this a correct time to do so? I don't think so. Is there a lack of information around this issue? Absolutely. Do I think this has to do more with personality and conflict of interest among individuals? Absolutely.
We got a
For
spellbinder
concealment,
back here?
dude.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
No, we got 3. He pulled 3 things back here.
Yeah. I got the ball.
I mean, he's just responding to a call. I got them all. But, I'm not a big fan of, like, the lack of information gathering.
I have Crusader on this character. I have all of this shit saved up for the
See what Pika says.
That's the point.
It is true. I am trying to get my Crusader enchant through Pirate. He literally is trying to get me enchanted. If he died, I would also be in trouble. I would have no Crusader enchant. And they need me to hit level 60 as fast as possible because I am the new main tank in the raid. I have the best weapon in the game, level 43 Executioner's Axe, and I'm trying to get the Crusader enchant. If he died, I might die. I might also die because of that. It's actually a 2-player value.
That's so.
I'd say maybe even 3 players. I could be worth 2 players.
What
And
the?
I don't know if you can hit 60 without Crusader enchant on your Executioner's Axe level 43. So that's another thing we have to think about.
We haven't seen that
We
perspective
have to
yet.
think about that.
If I'm going back in, I'm going back in because I know it's salvageable. Not because there's maybe a chance or I'm kill number 3. There is no reason for that shit. None. None what.
That's some
If
bits I have
anything,
in
good
bank,
memes,
though,
good
but,
memeing.
yeah.
I
my
watched
God,
Jay
so many
Beasley
clips.
died the other day. That was rough.
That was sad. As a mage player, that was sad to watch for the 2 mages.
It made me physically unwell. Yeah.
Yeah. It made me feel like I was a decent mage player, knowing that I probably would have done a lot more.
Like, there were no sheeps going out. There were no blizzards going out. Apparently, he didn't have the spec for blizzard for slows, but, like, that's exactly why I run that spec. Because, like, when shit goes sideways, you save lives, man.
Oh,
The fact that it's a punchline meme point, that Thor literally cannot hear any of the sarcasm occurring in this clip of another mage or wizard speaking to him, goes to prove my point 7-fold.
and Blizzard is like,
Yeah.
Okay, this is okay. At this point, it is comical. It is. I can't say it's comical. Y'all have dug up some
Exactly. It's
gemstones.
hilarious. It's
Jesus.
actually hilarious.
We're going to be using several excerpts from a video created by the channel Folding Ideas. Their video is linked below, and I highly recommend giving that a watch from start to finish. It is a very powerful video centered around gaming and psychology.
Blizzard has code, the players have codes of practices. Social codes of practice are the tenets laid down by individuals within the game who have no design power or automatically conferred authority.
It's very normal. And there's a lot of tension on the line because we're constantly combating each other and trying to get the upper hand through different resources.
These social codes are often linked with perceptions of foul play and the spirit of the game, but they go far beyond that and can shape what is considered legitimate play in World of Warcraft. In Elite Noobs, Mark Chen sees success in World of Warcraft as dynamically defined. To be good at World of Warcraft is defined by consensus. Put another way, you are good if you do enough of the things that we collectively decided that good players do. Success is relative and socially defined. Despite the game layer presenting these dragons as equivalent, there is a significant difference in their social value. For Glaz, World of Warcraft is composed of various idiocultures, groups of players linked together by particular systems of knowledge, belief, behaviors, and customs. Big boy raiders and role players have totally different ways of engaging with the world. There is no single objective way to approach WoW. These idiocultures exist in layers.
What did you just call me?
You've got WoW players categorically, PvP versus PvE, battlegrounds versus arenas, keystones versus raids, guilds, individual guilds, and of course cliques within those guilds, and players can move seamlessly between all of these different modes, all of these different idiocultures. These different idiocultures may subscribe to different social practices, and it is the interaction between these groups and the constant negotiation on proper codes of practice that Glaz argues shapes World of Warcraft. It is the interaction between different groups of people that set the boundaries and fundamental meaning of play. Instrumental play has entrenched itself as the dominant mode of engagement with World of Warcraft. Through social codes of practice, players are subject to expectations that they may be completely unaware of. It is taken as value neutral and objectively true that expertise and success are the natural objectives of play, and thus the default mode of play that players owe to those around them. In other words, it's bad manners to be bad at Warcraft.
So we've set the tone now of maybe not all MMOs, but at least World of Warcraft. With a social pressure of if you're bad, you're also being very rude, we can maybe understand this entire event in a much clearer context. I believe that all parties involved were consciously under this pressure for different purposes, in different amounts, and with completely different perceptions over the end goals of the group. I also think that there's a little bit more going on under the surface than there appears, and I don't think it has to do with Thor. Let's take a look at a much more serious hazing event within World of Warcraft.
This was in the context of a guild that was 9 weeks behind the progression curve, working on bosses that had been hit by the nerf bats several times. And just for those in the know, these people were 6 healing Mythic Lords of Dread in early June. Like, I don't even have the words. Gear was not their problem. So, a close friend of mine was bullied and excluded from this group for not spending a few more hours running dungeons to load the bases for a 1% chance at a maybe 0.5% increase in performance, where that improvement was entirely disconnected from the problems that the group was actually experiencing. The reason we wanted to talk about this is that I sincerely could not imagine a more petty reason to give someone a hard time in World of Warcraft. Frankly, it's pathetic. This was not an instrumental practice, this was a social one. Here, the social value of the item level was wildly disproportionate to any tangible mathematical value. The process of completing the necessary 8 keystones was not emergent from some necessity, but a ritualistic reaffirmation of commitment to the group. The fact that the trinket was worth something, anything, was just a pretense to enforce a practice.
I don't think that Thor had any bad intentions. I think that there was a little bit of some falsified drama pushed, snowballed, and redug up. Those situations have nothing to do with the Stop Killing Games situation. They are being torn into and rehashed and telephoned by many, many channels, including titans of the platform, for sake of views. Now, to begin speaking on Stop Killing Games, we have to first begin with a small crash course from the channel Crash Course on media regulation. The link to the full video of which I will also include below.
Hello, I'm Craig, and this is Crash Course Government and Politics, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the media. Specifically, the way the media interacts with the government itself, and more specifically, the way the government regulates the media. Some of you might be saying, Craig, get real. The government doesn't regulate the media. We live in a free market capitalist society, and the only real regulation on what gets published or broadcast is determined by consumers, Craig. Right on. Except that there are things you can't say on television or print in a newspaper either because they're harmful or untrue, and there are a number of government agencies that exist to place limits on the media and to make sure that we have access to information. Concerned, the Supreme Court's decision in New York Times versus Sullivan makes it pretty hard to censor the press by suing for libel. So I can say anything I want about public figures. Public figures are dumb. In order to win this type of lawsuit, the plaintiff must show that the article or advertisement was both untrue and published with actual malice or reckless disregard for the truth, which is a very, very high bar. What this means in practice is that the First Amendment pretty much protects print media from government regulation, although as we saw in the last episode, the number of Americans getting their information from print is shrinking. So maybe the markets are doing the regulation after all.
That video was from 9 years ago, and over the last decade, people have encouraged that snowball to keep going. People get their news largely from YouTubers and in general social media platforms on a much larger basis than they do from news channels or the classic sources, such as newspapers, magazines, and in general physical media, until that source says something that is less concerned with feeling and maybe a step back from personality and more hyper-focused on oftentimes the sad but critical reality of policy, or otherwise just having larger foresight over the entire system. Stop Destroying Games is a European citizens initiative that launched in 2024 by YouTuber Ross Scott of Accursed Farms. This campaign urges the EU to require publishers to keep games playable even after they end official online support. The key asks are first that games sold and licensed in the EU must remain reasonably functional post-shutdown. Second, no forced always online or external connections once that support ends. This was sparked in April 2024 when Ubisoft shut down servers for The Crew, rendering the game unplayable for anyone who bought it. This raised alarm over planned obsolescence in digital game ownership overall. Regarding its progress and traction, in December 2024, 7 European countries met signature thresholds, including Denmark, Finland, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands, Poland, and Sweden. In March, over 400,000 signatures were reached. On July 2nd, it surpassed 700,000 signatures, and on July 3rd, it reached 1 million signatures, meeting its European requirement. Regarding the next steps, first, now that the signature thresholds have been met, it is eligible for formal European Commission review. If accepted, policymakers can propose legislation to ensure future game preservation standards. The UK also has a separate petition that has surpassed 100,000 signatures aimed at its parliament. TLDR, Stop Destroying Video Games is a successful European grassroots initiative that has now secured enough support to force a formal consideration in Brussels. Its mission: protect playability of games even after servers shut down, preserving gaming as cultural media. The movement to stop games from disappearing, especially due to delisting DRM or licensing lapses, runs into a wall of media rights complexity, and yes, in many ways, it's almost like trying to overthrow an entire legal architecture. The main problem occurs with the fact that media licensing is deep and fragmented. Most games, especially AAA titles, include content that's licensed from multiple third parties. That includes music, such as licensed tracks, radio stations, composer royalties, celebrities, likeness rights, voice actors, and motion capture contracts. Even brands such as energy drinks, cars, clothing, and real-world locations. Finally, TV or movie tie-ins, especially with superhero or sports franchises, and that can include Easter eggs. These rights are usually time-limited, territory-specific, and non-renewable without renegotiation. When the license expires, the game becomes illegal to sell as is. You'd have to strip the content, replace it, or even relicense it, which can be impossible or prohibitively expensive. And we see this used now more than ever with Sonic the Hedgehog being in Magic the Gathering, Superman being in Fortnite, and most importantly, Seth Rogen and the Ninja Turtles coming to Call of Duty.
So, this is nice. All right, let's call this duty. Kaboom! Hey man, where am I? Oh my god, this game is intense.
Machine gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down? Slamming and jamming to the new sound. Yeah, everybody let's move. Vanilla is still.
And alternatively, with Mortal Shell setting a trend to bring on a legitimate metal band as a part of the production of the game.
Think you're the Harbinger. You might be.
Now let's take a second to discuss the European Media Rights Framework. In the EU, digital content rights are governed by the European Copyright Directive 2019, the Digital Single Market DSM rules, and strong protections for both artists and rights holders. These laws prioritize the creators' or rights holders' controls, not consumer preservation or historical access. There is no legal obligation to preserve or archive commercial digital works once licenses expire. Even preservation attempts for libraries and archives don't allow public access or redistribution. This is unlike the incredibly helpful resource of Project Gutenberg, offering more than 75,000 free ebooks within their library. So what would it take to fix this? The incredibly difficult first step has already been taken, but that first step wasn't exactly taken too clearly. To truly stop games from being lost, the EU and other regions would need new legislation recognizing video games as cultural artifacts. A framework for orphaned or expired licensed games would have to be created, allowing legal distribution of modified versions or archived builds. That would include overhauling IP law or carving out game-specific exceptions. This isn't just a political challenge, it's a financial and philosophical one too. Rights holders and studios often view, if we can't profit from it, nobody should access it. In short, yes, media rights law makes true preservation incredibly difficult. Due to the way games are built from many different licensed parts, preserving them often means breaking the law. The only solution would involve, first, a deep legal reform, especially around expired and composite IP. Then, game studios supporting preservation as a value, not just a cost. And finally, a shift in how society views games overall, not just as products, but as artifacts worthy of preservation. I fully agree with this movement and idea, but I do not think it is completely inclusive. and I think Thor can explain it a lot more intelligently than I can. I am only a graduate of IT and a student of cybersecurity, and while I understand and can connect to the things that Thor speaks on, I do not have anywhere near the amount of experience or understanding of these fields.
Most common requirement of the initiative, which is games have to be left in a functional, playable state. Now, what happens if that game is a online-only live service game?
The rise of collegiate esports marks one of gaming's most significant cultural victories. For decades, video games were dismissed as distractions or niche hobbies. Now, they're earning scholarships, institutional support, and national recognition at universities, a level of legitimacy once unimaginable. This shift means that first, esports are being taken seriously alongside traditional sports. Second, academic programs in game design, marketing, and streaming are growing rapidly. And finally, gaming is embedding into the educational system, shaping future careers and media literacy. However, the collegiate scene relies heavily on online-only live service games, such as League of Legends, Valorant, Overwatch, Rocket League, all titles that first require persistent internet connections, second, depend on centralized servers and developer support, and third, face issues of balance changes, shutdown risks, or meta shifts. If these games are ever shut down or overhauled, entire seasons, teams, or programs can vanish overnight, creating a fragile foundation beneath an otherwise historic achievement. Collegiate gaming is a historical milestone, proving video games can be academic, competitive, and respected. But its future is tightly linked to online-only live service games, making preservation, access, and developer responsibility more complex than ever.
From forming our own esports team, Full Sail Armada, to building a premier esports arena on our campus, the collegiate program at Full Sail University gives students the opportunity to gain insights into the esports industry through practical application. Full Sail Armada continues to build on the foundations of community, real-world experience, and competitive play. By fostering relationships with esports organizations both close to home and across the nation, Full Sail and its partnerships with some of gaming's biggest names have brought epic events to campus and the Armada community.
I'm excited for this in-house matchup that just got underway. Round 2 starts right now.
These live events give students unparalleled opportunities to work in the esports industry. And they're also invited to get in on the action, whether they're competing in our incredible esports arena, casting for viewers online, or rallying for their peers in the stands. Student leadership and key club members continue to build up Armada into a force for community inclusion. While high-profile events keep students in the trenches of esports, community-led events allow them to take ownership, collaborate with faculty and staff, and bring their unique perspectives to the collegiate scene.
Lord and Savior, run for your lives if it means anything with your life. Oh, and we got the taunts and we are ready to go. Top 8 qualifiers.
Building up the Armada organization also means staying true to our roots. That's why we invite back accomplished grads to share their experiences and advice with students through panels, guest lectures, and presentations throughout the year. Through our library of original content available on Twitch and the content generated through our varsity stream team, we provide spaces for students to gain experience in video production, streaming, and the expansive world of content creation.
We kind of just hype ourselves up before we go in, you know? And I think the hype really helps us focus on winning. We do good when we're like, yeah, let's get it! We're gonna win! Like, that's us.
Through competition, Full Sail has fostered a positive environment for team players, providing them with a well-equipped practice facility, resources for growth with grads returning as team managers and coaches, and immediate feedback from industry experts for career guidance in the esports industry. With incredible performances from teams in titles like Valorant, Call of Duty, and Smite, Armada's place in collegiate esports is hard to ignore.
Jay did take a little damage there, but he does want to find the ace, but he doesn't. Slasher does end up getting 2 there.
One enemy
He gets a third. Just Chinazo left. He does end up getting Diffuser, and he does put down Slasher as well. What a turn of events.
The focus on player growth and optimization also extends to our partnerships. Through these partnerships, students have been awarded scholarships for their excellence in academics and athleticism. On the tech side, our partnerships have Armada athletes and community members playing on high-end gaming equipment. As Full Sail looks to the future, we hope to strengthen community bonds, enrich the lives of our students through gaming, and continue to be an educational leader in the world of esports.
Well, if you want that to stay in a functional playable state, that means the devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single-player experience now. Some way to keep it functional and playable, right? Now, many of you are requesting, yes, I should get the server binaries so that I can go and make private servers for this. But that doesn't make a lot of sense in the real world. And the reason why is because it leaves developers open to abuse. So let's explore that a little bit. Let's say that you made your own video game, and you made a live service game. Maybe it's an MMO, maybe it's something else, right? And let's say that I want to monetize that game, but you don't allow monetization of the game by any other party. This makes sense because most creators don't allow for that. You can't just take someone else's art and profit off of it. Normal, right? So then I go, well, how am I going to force you to do this? Under this initiative, you would have to release the server binaries or keep the game in a functional playable state at end of life. So I hit you with a ton of bots. I hit you with a ton of exploits. I attack your community, I destroy your Reddit, I go after your business. I go everywhere that I possibly can to make this cost as much as it possibly can for you. And it's not hard to do this. We saw the exact same thing happen in TF2 recently. The massive amount of bots that were attacking the game. This is not infeasible. This is something that is very easily attainable today. And let's say that this goes on long enough that your game dies because you can't afford it anymore, and your studio has to shut down. At end of life, you now have to release those server binaries to keep the game in a functional playable state. At which point I take those, I create a private server, and I monetize it. And some people have said, well, simply don't allow monetization of the server. Well, who's going to enforce that? If you want a government initiative to enforce that, that means the government has to build a registry of all of those games and all of that intellectual property that shouldn't be monetized, and then somehow enforce that.
Now, that's an incredible point, but why the hell should I listen to Thor? I asked myself this question, and I think I answered it for myself.
Your DEF CON experiences, if you can. I don't know. Sure. I've had friends that have gone, and I know kind of how Vegas turns into a different city in a lot of ways during that convention. And I've been told don't scan random things in Vegas during DEF CON and like all that type of stuff.
Dude, I'm going to be real with you. You shouldn't do that anyway. Like...
Sure. Yeah, but especially during DEF CON. What is like your craziest DEF CON experience, I guess, if you could share?
So DEF CON 24, I had just won DEF CON 23. So I was on my team at the time, which was Council of Nine. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be the social engineer this year. I don't want to like crack crypto the whole time because I was the big cannon at the back, just solving puzzles, right? The first year. It's like this year I want to be comms and I want to be a social engineer because I kind of want to flex that direction. So I got the key to Lost's room, which is Lost is the puzzle master for that. And he trusted me to have the key to keep the room open because I don't sleep, right? I stay up the whole time and I just blitz all of DEF CON. I go 72 hours straight, no sleep. And so I'm the master of the room. I got the key, which gives me a little bit of an edge on that where I'm like, hey, I got the power in my hand. I'm a trusted individual, right? So I was like, okay, we're going to lean into this a little bit. And I said, hey, this year I'm not competing. I let everyone know I'm not competing this year. I'm here to keep the room open. If you have any questions, because Lost isn't going to be here the whole time, you can come and ask me. And I became this focal point for information for newer teams. And I would give them little hints if they were behind us. And if they're ahead of us, I'd give them a little bit shittier hints. And then I'd collect that information. I sent it back to my team. So the whole time, nobody knew I was competing. They actually didn't know I was competing until I was accepting the award on stage at the end. Nice. Immediately, the shock and anger was enormous. Like it was rough, dude. Like it was bad. The next year, people had signs that like "Don't trust this man" and shit. It was just very funny. Yeah, that's how that
Don't
goes.
trust this man.
Social engineer time. It was good.
It's you
It
in
was
a
really
suit.
good, actually. I wasn't wearing a suit, thankfully.
Wow.
But no, I think that year was. I left a comment in this. Said, why was he training CS to not answer questions? And I said, really surprised how little is known about social engineering in the comments. Social engineering is a branch of hacking centering around obtaining information or encouraging employees to take actions that they otherwise should not. CS was obviously not trained to not answer customer questions. Now imagine this. I'm in the middle of trying to get customer support and they have to work on something. It's like, hey, I'm actually really wondering. I was thinking about applying Blizzard CS and I was wondering, I can't cook. If I do end up getting the job, do you guys have good places to eat around there? Try to get them into a small talk conversation about places in the area that employees generally like to eat. Now, the reason that I would do this is because I have devices like a Proxmark that I can put on my wrist, and I can walk within about 3 feet of you, scan your badge, and clone it. I'm an offensive security specialist. I'm a hacker. And now I know where my targets go during lunch breaks. These are the kinds of questions they shouldn't be answering.
So now we understand a little bit of Thor's skill and ability, but mainly that he might abuse the lack of sleep for efficiency. And when you combine that with the cybersecurity, anti-social engineering training of being more reserved, answering less questions, being a little bit more blunt and pushy as to get the truth and honesty of what's being spoken, that can come across as a fairly rude attitude. So at this point, I've gotten so many answers, but I'm not completely convinced on trusting the words or opinion of a YouTuber. I need to do a little bit more digging. So, after some snooping, I discovered that, ironically, 9 years ago, similar to our PBS government policy video, Jason Thor Hall performed an old school AMA on the Reddit thread r/IamA. I am Jason Thor Hall, previously worked at Blizzard Entertainment, hacker, now indie game dev, short bio, wore many hats at Blizzard Entertainment over a 6-year career, left Blizzard with the title of Senior Red Team Specialist. That's incredibly interesting. Won a black badge at DEF CON 23 from IO57. It's radioactive. I make cryptographic puzzles for the hacking community on the side. I started my own indie game development company, and our first game is on Greenlight. I like potatoes, narwhals, and bacon. The LinkedIn is real and still works to this day. I'm just not going to include footage of that. As for the following links, I'll let them speak for themselves. Okay. So far we've proved everything except for narwhals and bacon, of which I can say I also enjoy. But DEF CON 23? The black badge? I don't think so. Let's check that out. Now to begin, what is the DEF CON Black Badge? Well, it is a highly coveted award given only to the winners of certain DEF CON hacking competitions, signifying elite skills and contributions to the security community. It grants the recipient free lifetime access to the DEF CON conference. The competitions that award black badges vary each year. Some key details. First, the highest honor. The Black Badge is the most prestigious award at DEF CON, reserved only for exceptional individuals or teams. Regarding lifetime access, winning a Black Badge grants the recipient free entry to DEF CON for life, a valuable perk. Next, varying competitions. The specific contests that award Black Badges change from year to year, making a dynamic and challenging goal. And finally, Black Badges have been awarded to winners of Capture the Flag, contests, and Hacker Jeopardy, among others. Now, I went directly to the Black Badge Hall of Fame, which I have linked below. And due to not knowing how many Black Badges after DEF CON 23 that he was able to achieve, I dug through every single one until I found the hidden gem. Lo and behold, there he is. Now, me being a mere student of cybersecurity, the biggest flex that I have is understanding a little bit about the NIST 800 documentation. This is an incredibly long document going over the policy that backs the security of pretty much the entire internet. But the main point is that this is nearly a 500-page document And when you read that many pages, it can kind of drain the personality out of you and make you a very hypercritical and accurately thinking individual.
I think sometimes the things that I talk about in regards to those types of things is misconstrued as arrogance or boasting, when in reality, I'm just trying to give context.
So that is the problem right there. So I want you to listen to this phrase.
Sure.
This gets misconstrued as arrogance, but in reality, it's this.
Yeah.
That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro. Like, tell me I'm wrong.
Okay. I don't see it that way, but all right.
Right? So, oh, yeah. So you don't see it that way. You're wrong.
So, in the most extreme, people said live service games shouldn't exist at all, and the initiative will kill them off for good, and that's a good thing. Well, you don't get to define what players get to play or not play. You also shouldn't be able to get to define what developers build or don't build. You should not have creative control over the developers, and you should not have control over what is in my Steam library or on my phone. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Aside from that, the initiative does not purport to kill live service games. It would just make it incredibly difficult to build said games and add a lot of risk to it, which is why I'm bringing all of this up and why I don't support the initiative in the first place. A lot of people don't realize that this will slowly diminish live service games in the market because it's not an incentive for us to build them anymore, which means you get less multiplayer live experience in something. So the next one is that this is about games preservation, and that it needs to happen to preserve these types of games for future generations and for everyone to always have forever. But I would argue that this isn't actually preserving these games. Social games, such as, let's say, Apex Legends, require a number of players to be in the match at the same time so that you can have an experience that is only able to be obtained through lots of players interacting, right? It's a multiplayer game. You need a bunch of people. How many of you have felt negatively when an MMO dies? Or when a live service game dies? Oh, dead game. There's only 5 people online. Why would I play that? So why would you want to preserve a game in that state? That doesn't make any sense to me. You want to take down these live service games, put them up on a private server, and then play it with a couple of people. You're not bringing it back at its height. You're not taking a snapshot of what the game actually is. You're making it limp on in a way that doesn't make any sense. That's not preservation. And for those that may stop there and go, but private servers going to have a lot of players. Look at all the ones for World of Warcraft. Again, we talked about that. It opens up a route for abuse of the developers. And he trusted me to have the key to keep the room open because I don't sleep, right? I stay up the whole time, and I just blitz all of DEF CON. I go 72 hours straight, no sleep.
I return back to Thor mentioning his abuse of sleep because while it's impressive to achieve virality, Thor made it seem like achieving virality was something towards the back end of a task list, consisting of as equally as impressive achievements. And as someone who has abused sleep in the past for the sake of efficiency or progress, seeing signs of it in someone else, I can understand that this likely had an effect in the drama. The way that Thor accepted his award, essentially for achieving virality in the long run, set a testament to Thor's character that would follow him through the rest of his creation to this day, despite currently being heavily overshadowed by a complex and telephoned lie of a drama.
And the winner goes to...
the man with the voice changer, Pirate Software.
Yeah, no, this actually is really heavy. Holy shit. So,
It's honestly amazing to me that we even have a category now. Like, the software and game development category is incredible. You guys should definitely check it out. There's many more creators than just me in there. It's definitely not just me. So it's incredible to me that you guys have voted for me for this, because a year ago, many people didn't even know I existed. And this has been one of the most amazing years I have ever had in my life. So thank you all very, very much. Seriously. And for those of you out there that want to make games, you have a home for that now on Twitch. You have this category for you to do that. And it doesn't mean you have to make an amazing game. You just have to make your game. Make it bad. It's okay. And then make a better one. And just keep doing it. So, I can't wait to play what you guys make. And thank you all very much.
When I see endless posts about a man who has an ego problem, who's self-absorbed, I see a creator who has inspired me to create everything that you see right now. That inspired me to start my cybersecurity journey. I watched a content creator only mention himself to give his audience security and his knowledge, to guide them into things that are immensely productive and healthy for their life. I saw that creator be real with them in a way that connected to the core of who they were and shook away senseless worries and anxieties that keep people in repetitive thought patterns. I watched someone legitimately inspire the youth to start creating things using whatever resources they have and show them how to do it. And then I watched mainstream titans repeatedly kick that man in the teeth for views.
Frigging is upon us. Don't leave the fridge open? No, leave it open, dude. I need to breathe. I'm in the fridge. I'm live. Why, hello. Can the fridge people see me now? 8-Bit Dylan. Am I fridge viewable? Hello, fridge people, if you're there. What's up? So, for all you new guys, my name is Thor. I make video games. Been in the gaming industry for 18 years. Used to work at Blizzard Entertainment. Worked on everything from World of Warcraft Vanilla all the way into Overwatch, except for Burning Crusade, because I left for a while. And then I left and I worked at Amazon Game Studio on the Lumberyard game engine. And then I left that and I hacked power plants for the federal government. So I was a pen tester working at the DOE. And then I quit because I didn't like having my hair cut short. And I started my own indie studio called Pirate Software. Now I make games on the internet, and this is what I've done full-time for the last 5 years. I just make games and I build stuff on Twitch, and that's it. That's all I've been doing. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about immensely on here, the biggest thing of all, is our studio wouldn't exist without Twitch. Hands down. It wouldn't, what we're doing would not be possible without Twitch in any respect. Over the last year, we've finally gotten our own categories. So we have software and game development as a category now, which is really, really cool. But on top of that, it's shown that so many different people can come in here and make their own games, which is something that they didn't think they would be able to do. So I'm going to show you something. I put together a website called develop.games. How many of you guys out there ever wanted to make a game? And you're just like, I can't do this. I'm not a good programmer. I'm not a good artist. I'm not a good musician. I don't have the ability to do this thing that I want to do. I don't have the technical knowledge on how to make a game that I need in order to do this. So you have to be this high to ride the ride, right? It's not a thing. So we're going to go into this for a little bit. But the first thing is, what skills do you need? None. You don't need to know anything. You could be bad at everything, and it's totally fine. So let's go into a few of these. You don't need to be an amazing artist. Thomas Was Alone is a really, really good example of this. Really, really good example of this. Thomas Was Alone is...
So, upon review of the Make Games website, immediately begins with navigation, live stream, but who are you? Then, skills required for making a game such as the art, music, and programming, picking a genre, building a team, tools required such as the engines, art programs, audio programs, and even financing, streaming, publishers, Kickstarter, merchandise, subscription services, and scams included. Then, marketing, building a community, social media, paid advertisement, conventions, and even awards. Next, launching your game. Steam, Humble Bundle, Game Jolt, and itch.io standing out for several reasons. Founded in 2010 by Jeffrey Rosen and John Graham, Humble Bundle began as a pay-what-you-want indie game bundle, offering DRM-free games with the option to donate part or all your payment to charity. The idea was revolutionary. Gamers could choose how much to pay, how to split it between developers, Humble and selected charities, and still receive full games. The first bundle, May 2010, featured indie hits like World of Goo and Lugaru. It raised over 1 million in just 11 days. As the model succeeded, bundles expanded to include books, comics, software, music, and even major publishers. Between 2011 and 13, it introduced weekly bundles, mobile bundles, and cross-platform support. In 2015, it was acquired by IGN, causing concern among users, but continued to operate semi-independently. In 2020, it became part of Ziff Davis via J2 Global acquisition of IGN. Over time, it evolved into a game store, monthly subscription, Humble Choice, with a full-fledged publishing label, all with charity as a built-in component. Its total charity impact as of 2025 has included disaster relief, aid for crises in Libya, Turkey, Syria, Sudan, Israel, Gaza, Maui, and more, partnered with Direct Relief for faster emergency response. Regarding health and mental well-being, it has supported organizations such as Charity Water, the Trevor Project, and Prevent Cancer Foundation, and even Active Minds. Regarding educational access, it has donated over 36,000 diverse books via Room to Read, First Book, and Little Free Library, even promoting anti-censorship and reading equity. Regarding equity and inclusion specifically, they have funded Girls Who Code, Gameheads, NP Power, and Black Game Developer Fund to bridge access gaps in STEM and game development. For the environment, they have raised over $1 million to donate in 2023 to climate organizations such as Cool Effect, Coral Guardian, and One Tree Planted. Overall, what started in 2010 as a small indie experiment has quickly become one of the most impactful platforms in gaming history. Humble Bundle pioneered charitable giving in gaming, raising over $250 million for education, disaster relief, health, climate action, and equity, all by uniting developers and gamers under a simple but powerful idea: games can give back. Now, it acts as a potential platform for the lesser resourced to get some attention on their project and generally grow as a video game developer. Humble Bundle is more focused on commerce and charity, selling bundles with built-in donations, but Game Jolt leans into social networking, fandom culture, and direct creator interaction, similar to Newgrounds or Deviant Art, but modernized. Humble is more centralized and curated, while Game Jolt is more open and community moderated. Game Jolt is a Gen Z-friendly creative hub, blending indie games, fan art, memes, and community-driven content. It shares some roots with Humble Bundle in empowering indie creators and fostering community, but diverges by focusing on expression over commerce, and fandoms over fundraising. Thor includes his game Heartbound here on the front of the page because he regularly live-streamed work on this game, answering questions live from individuals who he encouraged to begin work on their own games, whether that be personal projects or team projects. That's the game dev side of things. Now let's jump over to the game jam side of things.
The whole point of game jams is to grow as a developer. You get 2 weeks that you've given to yourself to learn as much as you want to learn. You don't have to submit. You're not going to let me down. You're not going to let yourself down. You're not going to have to do any of this. So what you should do is just do it. Learn some shit and have fun. And it makes all the things that you do in the future better. And you don't have to worry about how many people play your game or what score you get or, if the judges like it or not. What you worry about is, did I build something and can I enjoy building a thing again? That's it. It's fun.
Thor left the toxic environment of Blizzard, dealt with the stressful government environment of cybersecurity, achieved insane things along that journey, and is now facing the stresses of complete virality. Despite that, he's doing a majority of what he does for other individuals. I don't find that egotistical.
He worked for Blizzard for 23 years. I only worked there for 7. It's actually him. They put him in the episode, and they didn't tell him until the last minute. This is my dad. His name is Joey Ray. This lamp in the back was a lamp that we actually owned at the time. This was my dad's apartment. They literally put him into the episode and then told him, and were worried that he'd be upset. And it's like he wasn't upset, and they just kept it. So at his house, he actually has the original script for that episode and everything up in a big frame that they gave him, and it was really, really cool. So yeah, he was a cinematic editor for Blizzard for 23 years. That was my dad. It's literally him. And he does own this wrist brace, and they made him really gross, like extra bonus gross, which is quite funny. Now, the best part about this is no one knew he was real. And because nobody knew he was real, some dude cosplayed him.
In short, Thor had legitimate fears for legitimate reasons regarding this movement. And moving forward, if we don't consider the ideas that he mentioned, there could be some pretty painful consequences in gaming. Media and brand policy being so intertwined in gaming now more than ever complicates this issue to a degree that requires much more conversation and attention than anyone is willing to give to it. I try to do my best to summarize as much as I could of the entire issue and categorize everything literally and without emotion. That was difficult to do because this is a creator that I actually genuinely vouch for, despite not knowing them at all on a personal level. I've seen so much character in this individual that their mistakes show more of their character to me. And due to how Thor takes accountability, apologizes, and does everything he can to repair the situation and move things forward, I think that even in his mistakes, he shows more good character. And when the effects of this movement hits America and there's an actual uproar of how we feel about these policies and media and all of that stuff, I think we should continue to take this individual's opinion into consideration. The amount of years to handle policy and systems and the corporate experience, this is literally a professional individual that you would want to conversate with or understand their mentality as to how to make a better decision. This whole entire situation for me has been like if the entirety of society decided that they were all heart surgeons and that a legitimate heart surgeon was for some reason egotistical or evil due to knowing how to perform that surgery, seeing implications arise from a possible new way of performing that surgery that might be approaching, and wanting to take that approach a little bit more carefully, a little bit more slowly, as to consider everything and everyone involved. This is kind of a ridiculous issue that shouldn't have happened. I tried to clear it up as well as I could, but of course there might be something that I'm missing, because I'm just me. This is a video that I very deeply wanted to create, and I actually very greatly enjoyed creating. Feel free to comment down below if you have any issues, comments, or questions in general. And I would like to close this out with the amazing closing segment of the video we've previously mentioned regarding World of Warcraft and player psychology.
If we could roll the credits there, that would be a great ending. If only it were that simple. The relationship between instrumental play and fun is messy. We are far from the first to observe these issues. They aren't exactly hard to see. A common solution put forward is to heavily wind back, if not outright remove the game's add-on support. Despite everything, that's not a solution we're super crazy about. Mods offer unparalleled value to the consumer. There is a reason they were and remain so beloved by PC gamers. Mod support is not solely this engine of chaos that we've depicted it as, it is a means of empowering users. For that reason, the application of mods spans far beyond what you'd expect. The Tournament of Ages, the charity role-playing festival from earlier, yeah, that's built entirely off the back of add-ons. Disability is an enormous subject that is so important that we weren't sure how best to handle it. For what it's worth, Choice doesn't like to make a big deal about it, but his eyes are cooked. He is very much reliant on add-ons to play his best, and so that will always short-circuit this type of conversation. Mods offer a means of accessibility that are both broad and granular, custom to every individual's need to a degree developers can never practically match. MDT, an incredibly complex mod that allows players to plan and share routes through dungeons, has dramatically altered the way that dungeons are designed by equipping players with the tools and language to communicate complex, interesting strategies. Arguably, this whole process of negotiation, the arms race between players and designers, has resulted in more replayable, engaging, fun content. Mods are ultimately an expression of our own behaviors. Instrumental play, the act of attempting to solve a game, ironically can't be solved. It's not a puzzle box, but an expression of values, and mods are just one of the ways in which that manifests. For all the drama that can be wrung from Golub's writing, his conclusion is not a tirade against mods or those who use them. Instead, Golub sees this as evidence that virtual worlds are made compelling not by their fiction, but from their reality. World of Warcraft is the product of the emergent collusion of developers and players. Social practices go a huge way towards defining how we got to this point. To lay the blame at the feet of just players as a collective, to argue that the game would be improved if only Microsoft's Activision Blizzard King just had the control it needed to realize its creative vision, not loving that. World of Warcraft is an emergent culture that is constituted by its players, its inhabitants if you want to be romantic. Modern World of Warcraft is a mess in a way that only humanity could create. It's full of contradiction and hypocrisy. It rewards our worst impulses before demanding payment in full. Certain anthropologists feared that WoW's nature as a game would undermine its value as a site for cultural study, that incentivizing behaviors would generate inauthentic data, but this feels plenty authentic to me. Golub suggests that in the face of digital spaces, we retire the concept of the real world, especially as the idea is posed in opposition to the virtual, where experiences in one are true, while experiences in the other are false, fake, or fictive, that whatever happens online, it's not real. This framing neglects to encompass the very real humans who utilize these spaces, bringing with them all their human attributes, their drama, the tangle of their lives. Virtual spaces are not apart from the world, but an extension of it, and to this, Golub suggests a much tamer distinction between the virtual world and the actual world, demoting the physical to a mere subset of reality. The key feature of the actual world, which virtual worlds must share with it in order to become compelling, is not its visual and sonic realism, but the fact it is a forum in which we give our lives meaning by entangling them in projects we undertake with others. Worlds become real when we care about them, not when they look similar to our own.
It's okay if you have him deal with roaches, but as far as we know, Pirate Software doesn't. This was a mistranslation of the ferret rescue that he owns and operates, and a very sad mistranslation at that.
It's just a
I understand. I love ferrets. My friend Limes has so many ferrets. Yeah, I love her ferret so much. I know one's recently passed, but...
Yeah, you can see right here we've got a... like this camera is for night vision.
Uh-huh.
And that one up there is when we do the playtime from the top.
Oh,
my
cool.
gosh. Look at their tubes.
Yeah.
Wow. I love this.
Oh my god.
Stopheles.
The Stopheles? Yeah, Mr. Stopheles. Oh,
I'm
love
crying.
that.
So he just woke up.
Oh, he's so sleepy.
There you go.
Oh,
They'll wake up
he's
in just
like
a
a
moment.
burrito.
I know, when they
He's
first wake up, they're all like...
noodly.
Oh my god.
He's so noodly. Good morning, Mistopheles.
Public figures are dumb.